Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, April 8th, 2026. So we start off with Sophia and Marlena. So Marlena was just really trying to suggest to Sophia to get some help, get some therapy, because she can see that she is still a brilliant girl. She just, overcame some hurdles and she could use some extra help. Now, Sophia was just being defensive and, chip on her shoulder, and she feels as if Marlena was just trying to, just guilt her into going back to Bayview and, also getting revenge on her because of her loser grandson Johnny. She already knows how Marlena feels about her. Marlena said it's nothing like that. She just really wants to offer her professional advice. She wouldn't see her because it would be inappropriate, but she suggested somebody else, some outpatient therapy that she could go to. And she said, you know what, at first it seemed like she was buying into it, but then she got a call from Tate and she just, dropped that conversation. Speaking of Tate, he was with his father earlier, and his father was just really laying down the game plan to catch Sophia. So he suggested to him that, he call Sophia, meet up with her, pretend they're on a friendly basis, and, offer her a drink. So the thing is, he wants to match her fingerprints to the fingerprints on the pill bottle that she switched when Holly had those supplements in there for her skincare. So he wants to, set her up in that way. He explains how to do it and how to, clean off the bottle and all of that. So Tate is like, look at you being up, like a PI. So Brady mentioned to him what Steve said about joining Black Patch and working with him, and Tate said, yeah, you should go along with it. But then Brady is second guessing it because he wants to be there for Rachel, and Tate offered some mature advice about just taking a different path other than what you're used to, and that's what's Grandpa John used to be like. He was working at Basic Black, and then he decided he wanted to go into private investigation. So he Brady was impressed by his maturity and his advice, and Tate is just saying that is something that he's going through himself. He finally informed his dad that he was failing in college, and he decided to take over some courses, improve his GPA, and that's all good, but he doesn't feel like he's going back to Salem U, and he feels like he wants to do a different career path. And Brady said, look, I understand how things are moving these days. A lot of kids are not going the traditional college route. Some students are actually, some young people are actually going the technical school route, the trade school route, and I am going to support you either way, as long as you have a goal that you're going to focus on, and it's going to help you reach where you need to be as a man. So he supports him. He just tells him, look, anything like this again in the future, just let me know what's going on. Now, he asked him if he's okay with the plan and he's on board, and he said yes, he knows what he has to do. Tate was also worried about how Holly might take the news, but Brady just advised him that, look, you guys love each other, just support each other. I'm sure she'll be okay with you wanting to pursue a different path. Now, moving on, Kristen goes to visit Rachel. Rachel doesn't want to see her. She hides her face in the book, and Kristen is begging and pleading with her to just show her face, and she ends up doing that. But then she tells Kristen that she hates her. She hates her for the reason why she's in Bayview again. She said to her mom that, look, you promised that I was going to be here, and Kristen almost blurted out the fact that Marlena was the one who really recommended her stint back at Bayview. Now, Rachel was trying to find out what she was saying about her grandma, but then Kristen backtracked, and Kristen said she didn't really do much for her testimony, but Rachel is saying it's not her fault, and you know what, it's not your fault either. I'm sorry that I lashed out at you. I'm just really angry, I'm upset, I'm sad, and I don't really like how Rachel talks to her parents, but then again, after all she's been through with the both of them, I understand, but at the same time, I'm not all for the disrespect towards them. They're still authority figures. But I liked how she comebacks and she says these things maturely, and how she apologizes for her action. I like how she's more accountable than her own mother. Now, she talks about the fact that she doesn't understand why Sophia would do this to her, and she thought she was cool, she thought she was getting along with her, and Kristen understands the whole thing and just wishes that she was the one in Bayview, not Rachel. But she tells Rachel to just do what she has to do, keep her head up, do what the doctor says, just fall in line. At that time, Brady was listening in on the conversation because he was also supposed to visit Rachel. We get into that at some point. So we finally get to meet the new Ari, and I can't really pronounce her last name. I think it's Vivo Escorcia. But finally get to meet the new Ari. Hopefully she'll grow on us as Marissa did. Now, Holly was in our dorm room already, and she was like, what are you doing here? I don't really have nothing much to say to you. And Holly said she understands, but she just wanted to apologize for her behavior. And Ari was not buying it because she just feels as if it's just going to be a slap in her face later on, and she's gonna just show the other side of her, and she just doesn't want to go through that. So Holly explains to her that she was drugged, and she explained the situation in which Sophia switched the supplements with her antipsychotic medication, and Ari is saying like, how did you guys even get through this? And she said Tate was the one who figured it out because he was acting the same way I was when he took one of the pills. Now they're trying to figure out a way to nail her down, and Ari also asks if she can be involved, and she's saying, I wonder if no wonder Sophia's still acting that way. She's not taking her meds, and she's out of baby, so I'm sure she's not going to take them at all. Now, Holly and Ari, they make up, they apologize to each other. Ari apologized to her for how she was handling it, but Holly understands she would have acted the same way. Now, she asked her if she wanted to get back into the sorority thing, and she said no, it's she doesn't want to hang around a group of girls that already shame her on social media. And also she asked if she want to visit or moving back to the dorm room, and she said no, it's already almost the end of the semester. So she said it's an open invitation, and Holly accepted that as well. Now she sees a man's bracelet in there, and she's asking Ari about this new guy, and she said that she doesn't know where it's gonna go, but she really is interested in him. At some point Ari leaves, right? So Holly leaves, right? So Ari texts Liam about picking up the bracelet because Holly was saying maybe it's a sign that he will come back there. But Liam said it's like, what? Trash it. He's not coming back there. So I'm saying, Ari boy, you need to move on. Liam just doesn't want to get involved, and I think it's for the best because it's too much drama with that guy. Now Stephanie is still struggling with everything that's happened to her in the recent events, and it's like she stumbled on this furniture, and she is having flashbacks of Owen kidnapping her, the whole scene's at hospital, and she's just hyperventilating. She's really struggling. So Alex did tell Steve what's going on with her, and Steve was on his way to her apartment. So she is wondering what Steve is doing there, and Steve is just saying that I'm worried about you, Alex is worried about you, just want to be there to support you. So he asks her how she's doing, and she says she's fine, but Steve can tell that she's still going through it. And she asks about getting a gun, going to the gun range, and she asks if he could do that. So he said he believes that therapy is the best route first. I mean, he can always carry to the gun range, but at the same time he thinks the best way to do this first is to vent about her feelings to a therapist. So she says she doesn't really want to go to the hospital. She doesn't want to go back to the scene of the crime, and he understands that. So he suggests that Marlena come to hear her out, and she accepts the idea. So Marlena comes over, and she sits with Stephanie. Stephanie starts talking about how she feels as if her life is all messed up right now, and she is not in control of her life. She feels like a victim, and she feels because of the whole event she was not able to even know that Owen was her stalker, and she blamed Jeremy wrongly. But Marlena reminded her that she had a past with Jeremy that was really toxic, and that's why she resorted to thinking he was the stalker indeed. But she just feels as if every time she's been through these cycles of bad relationships and she's not learning, and it resulted in this whole accident happening, right? So Marlena suggests to her that, look, it's just one step at a time. Like, it just happened to you, it's fresh, you're suffering from PTSD, and I'd like to help you get through this. So I am here 24/7. A lot of people are in your corner. You really need a support system, and I will offer myself 24/7 to help you through this. And she appreciates that. So back to Tate and Sophia. So Tate met up with Sophia at the square, and he gives her her favorite soda, her favorite drink, and he just wanted to talk with her, just tell her that, look, you need to just chill with trying to hurt other people. I understand you went through a lot, and you need to stop trying to hurt people like Holly and Rachel. She's innocent, and Sophia's like innocent. So he said, yeah, my sister, she's just a kid, so you need to stop what you're doing because it's not working out for you. So she said, you're sounding very sanctimonious like your grandmother, Dr. Marlena Evans. So he said, what you mean by that? So she said she just saw her in the square and she was, preaching the same thing to her. But, he needs to just stop with it. So Holly comes over and, he's trying to buffer the whole situation. And Holly was like, what's going on? So he couldn't get into it because he's trying to trap Sophia, and Sophia is trying to leave her, and Tate is trying to stop her, but she ends up leaving and she throws the drink in the bin. So this is what he wanted to happen. So he went over there, he got his cloth and pick up the soda. So he says to Holly that we're gonna nail her good this time. So back to Brady and Kristen and Rachel. So Brady comes in and it's his time to bond with Rachel. Tells Rachel to go to the vending machine to get them some sodas or whatever so he can talk to Kristen. So he talks to Kristen alone and he's saying, like, what are you trying to preach to our daughter for her to just, not go through the treatment and just manipulate the situation. So she said, I don't agree with what you're trying to do, and she doesn't belong here. And he said, you and Marlena set this up and caused this problem. And he said, me and Marlena didn't do nothing but the best for her. All we want is the best for her. Like, if you just listen to Marlena and Bella in the first place, she wouldn't have been back here. You took her out without proper advisement from the doctors and everybody here at Bayview, and you should have just listened to us. So she said, really, you think this is the best place for her, to be around other people like Sophia Child? Like, look what she has been in since she's been here. So they're arguing back and forth. Rachel comes in and Rachel again has to stop them from arguing, and Brady said, look, we're not arguing, we're just having a disagreement, whatever. So she doesn't like when they argue, and she wants it to stop. So Brady at some point says that he's going to talk to the doctors, and Kristen said that she needs to leave to give them some time together. And before she leaves, Rachel is holding on to her like, mommy, I need to get out of here. You need to get me out of here. I can't stay here. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. I heard that they're going to run away, but let's see how this all pans out. But that is it for today's episode, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow.